Hello, everybody, and welcome to the virtual breakfast sessions. I'm Larry Sashin, and today we have a great show for you. But before we do that, let's thank our sponsor, Ed Flanagan and the Era Group. Listen, I've been saying over and over for years, if you're tired of paying that extra money into your employee taxes, call Ed Flanagan and the Era Group. They have an IRS sanctioned 125 cafeteria plan that will help you claw back some of that money and give your employees some extra benefits. So, Ed Flanagan and the Era Group. Today, we're having coffee with Arlene Spiegel. Hello, Arlene. How are you?
I'm terrific. Thanks for inviting me.
So, why don't you tell the people who you are and what you do?
Well, I am a food, beverage, hospitality, and retail consultant. And the reason it sounds so wordy is because restaurants and hotels and retail have really all merged into one industry now. And so I have owned and operated restaurants, and I've been consulting for clients in terms of helping them do startup new concepts, grow and scale their concepts, create food halls, create all kinds of opportunities for casinos and hotels. And now I'm very focused on helping my branded clients get retail products into different channels of distribution. And pretty much anything where you make food, package food, sell food, prepare food, ship food, I am the consultant that people go to because I kind of know how everything works together. And I've been privileged to be part of this industry and to give a lot of people some development, career development along the way. And every day is a challenge. I learn something from every project, from every client, whether it's the busboy or the boardroom. I just love it. I'm excited every day I get to do this. That's who I am.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, Fred, how does it feel to be the act that followed the Beatles and Ed Sullivan?
That's it. That's it. I'm Fred Clashman, editor and publisher of Total Food Service. Love chatting with Arlene because she really has a feel for both the front of the house and the back of the house, and it's very rare to see real expertise and vision in both of those areas. So I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you. Thank you. So, once again, I'm Larry Sashin. And Arlene, I understand you were sort of born into this business.
Yes, so on both sides of the family. So first of all, I come from an immigrant family. Both sides of the family immigrated here from Europe in the like 1920s, 1930s, and one of my grandparents opened up a push cart down on Delancey Street. And the other one, other side of the family, opened up a fruit stand and they grew their businesses. So my father, my uncles, my aunts, so all of us grew up working in the business. And so between the fruit and vegetables and the pastrami and the hot dogs, I got a pretty good spectrum of what the world was eating at that time. And it was pretty much the last thing I wanted to do was be in that business because while all of my friends were outside and playing and having fun, my brother and I had to work in the business. We had to everything from peel carrots to deliver orders to filling in from when the dishwasher broke. And I said, that's it. I'm never going into this business. But here I am.
Never, never, never say never. That's a proof. So, what did you learn from that business and how did you carry it
Yeah,
forward?
I think that's probably the best question of the day. I didn't know I was learning anything until I actually did go into this business in a professional way and open my own restaurants. The human side of it was so important and such a differentiator. We all have availability of systems and now AI and all of the programs, the from payroll to HR to all of the government and the accounting. But the one thing that the restaurant business, especially if it's an establishment in a neighborhood, is that human touch. I remember in my father's restaurant, there was a big glass door, And I would be with him, doing work behind the counter. And he'd say, "Oh, there's Miss Friedman coming. This is the way she likes her coffee. And let's not forget to ask how her daughter's wedding was." There was this relationship, there was this expectation that when someone walked in to my father's luncheonette, which is what they were called then, he had a relationship with them. And that is what I've learned through everything that's going on now. And people are ordering on their phones, they're ordering on kiosks, they're doing third party delivery. And so I'm most concerned about losing that human connection that I feel makes going to a restaurant so special. That was still in my mind, no matter what I do. What's the human connection? What's the emotional IQ? What is the takeaway? How do we make people feel better,
It's
regardless of what the
amazing
food
it's
is?
amazing what a big deal we make out of some piece of technology that does grand what grandma and grandpa were doing 75 years ago. It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. So carrying it forward, you just opened up a door. What do you think about what's going on with AI in restaurants? How AI
Well,
is replacing people?
well, it's it's uh it's a double-edged sword. I do very much feel that AI in the CRM area, the customer relationship management area, is really terrific. So if somebody calls a restaurant and places an order, which is nice if they have know how to use a phone now for that, that immediately that person's kind of history comes up, just like they do in the hotels, where they know, oh, you had pea soup last time. Would you like to know what our specials are today? Again, it's that relationship building, and AI does help with that. It also helps with speed, where once you have your pass keys and you get all of your information in, processing takes less time and there's less error involved. My other side of it that I'm very concerned about is that people stop thinking, they stop doing research,
Right.
they take things for granted, and that's a problem because you lose critical thinking skills, you lose the whole purpose of why you're there, and you get driven by a bunch of technology and numbers that come up instead of there are people behind those numbers.
Yeah.
So
An
I
example of
think,
that is nobody knows anybody's phone number anymore. Your phone has to know it. And that is going to be the same thing that
mhm.
happens in restaurant. So Fred, I know you're heavy into the AI situation. What do you see? How do you keep how would you frame a question to Arlene on how you keep the human touch in it? Fred, are you still there? I guess he's out.
Yeah, you just
Arlene.
froze for a second. Sorry about that.
Okay.
No, I'm here.
Arlene.
I'm here.
Okay.
Can, can you hear me, Larry?
Where I
Now I
hear
can.
you.
Okay, great. So you asked about where I think AI fits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think AI in many ways is the punishment for a world that has gotten lost in its cell phones and its mobile technology.
Mhm.
And what what I mean is we've lost that ability to communicate one on one, to know when somebody's birthday is, to have that common sense. And on top of that, now we live in a world where we have a minimum wage that continues to grow out of control. And I don't know if it's out of control or it's just the cost of living in general, et cetera. So we used to be in an industry where we had, when you flipped a burger, it was a job for a student coming into an industry. Now it's become a way for a family to make a living, et cetera. And all of this
We lost you there, Fred. Arlene, why don't you pick up on
marketplace, et
this?
cetera. Go ahead.
Arlene, why don't you pick up
Yeah,
on this?
sure. So, what I feel has been lost, and COVID, by the way, made it much worse because everyone started to work from home. And so, in a way, it moved the technology and speeded it up so that people can communicate. And look, we're on Zoom right now, which is a wonderful thing. But I think that we've lost a lot in terms of transferring social skills and human touch skills. There's so many people now that, being a hybrid where you come into work 2 days a week or 3 days a week. But what have you lost? What about the camaraderie? What about going out for lunch together? What about the seniors in an organization providing leadership and developing the younger people coming in? And so AI has taken away a lot of that because it is easier to have a virtual meeting. It is cheaper to be able to put your catalog online where people could shop for things as opposed to coming into a showroom or going to a restaurant show. I mean, it's come back now a little bit, but what I love about going to the restaurant shows and to all of the seminars and to all of the industry events and to is the learning and the sharing and what happens on the sideline, not just on the program directory, but sitting next to somebody and saying, what do you do? And oh, that's so interesting. And let's get together. So, why are we all here? To try to make each other's lives better, to make our businesses prosper, to make our communities better. And so AI has taken away from that in some ways because it's taken away the human ability to reach out, to be social, and to feel a certain sense of obligation to give back to your workplace, to your community, to the country. And so I definitely have mixed emotions about it. But every time I can talk in front of someone or be in person at a meeting, I show up. And Fred
So,
knows that.
She's
okay.
everywhere. She's
So,
everywhere. Yep.
Arlene, if you're seeing a new client and they're coming in with a concept, how do you how do you meld those two things together that all of a sudden I have disappeared off the screen? Can you hear me?
I
Yeah.
could hear
Yep.
you.
We can hear you.
Okay,
Yep.
because
Gotcha.
We could hear you. This is really interesting. Fortunately, over the years, I've learned what success looks like for a relationship, for a client consultant relationship. And I get referrals from accounting firms, law firms, people in the industry who know me and from former clients. And when I decide to take on a project, because I lead all the projects, I may bring in other experts, but I'm the one who leads it. I have to do a lot of vetting, not just of the concept itself, but I talk about the 5 C's, and Fred knows me for this. And if you hit the 5 C's, I'll work with you. But if you're missing any of them, I can't work with you. And the first thing really is the concept. What is the business plan? Does the world need it? Is it a me too? Is it something that can be differentiated? Can we scale it? Is it important? That's the first C. The second C is the client. Does the client have good character? Is the client smart? Have they done their research? Are they stand up people in the community? Number three is the culture. What kind of organization are you going to develop? Are you going to be good to your people? Are you going to give them fair wages? Are you going to provide opportunity? The fourth thing is commitment. Is this like a hobby or daddy's money or grandma's recipe? Or is this something you're really committed to get it through from the opening concept all the way, to growing the business? And then the fifth thing is capital. Do you have the money to do it right? I don't want to fall short in the middle of it and say, oh, I can't buy the fryer later. I ran out of money. So, and also you need to have, a real understanding of what your life is going to be, how it's going to impact your family. If you're married, you're going to be working nights and weekends. What about your children? So I bring all of this out. And if they've kind of passed through my screen of approval, then I know I've got a fabulous project to work on. And then I go to work. and I make sure that I bring the best of the best minds, whether it's from the kitchen to the construction to the lawyers to the intellectual property people to real estate. You know, a network is really, really important, and knowing who to bring in to make that client's dreams come true instead of turning it into a nightmare. So that's how I start.
Wow.
Okay.
So do you find a lot of projects that check all the boxes?
No.
What? Okay. Yeah.
No, I don't find a lot of them. I do find though that my best clients, the ones who do fit the 5 C's, are from people who I've worked with before, and in fact, some of them are second generation, where I've helped. You know, the family develop a chain of whether it's convenience stores in Philadelphia or casinos in Oklahoma, and then they bring the next generation, and you could all relate to this, especially you, Larry, where they have a son or a daughter who has an idea, who wants to go in the business but has, you know, little point of departure. So yeah, I definitely have met those people, but every now and then I feel like, oh, let me help them. You know, I'm soft, and then somehow along the way I've sabotaged myself because I wanted to do good for this person,
Yeah.
but they really didn't hit the 5 C's. And I think that, you know, being disciplined and making sure, because I'm the one who shows up. I'm the one who does the due diligence. I just spent 3 days walking Javits Center, looking at with the specialty food show, looking for co-packers for 3 of my clients who want to take their products based on their restaurant brands to different channels of distribution and set up marketplaces, not only in their stores, but also in hotels, in Williams Sonoma. And so that's why I said I also do retail, because I'm understanding how that works.
What do you see in terms of opportunity for extensions of restaurant brands into retail products and shelves like sauces and jams,
Yeah,
things like that? What's your
it's
thought on that?
huge. It's huge. You know, at first I thought, well, this is just a great marketing thing to have your brand presence in many different places. But it really, I mean, if you look at Carbones and you look at Rayo's and you look at some of
Yep.
the big brands out there, I mean, they're huge. They have different divisions. Matter of fact, some of their retail sales are so big that they actually had to spin off those companies. But if you, brands are everything. People trust brands. And the only people that the companies even that are private label brands, like a Trader Joe's, for example, or an Aldi's or some of these supermarkets, you can see that they've branded themselves so that there's a certain cachet and a trust factor. But if you have a great barbecue sauce from, you know, a wonderful barbecue place that's, you know, world renowned, or even from
Yeah.
Texas, it's going to sell because people trust it. And then that brand now becomes in someone's pantry. It doesn't, you don't have to have that brand in their restaurant. And, you know,
Sure.
so there's a big market, but it's tricky. And you have to know how to do it. It's a whole different set of government regulations, USDA approvals, labels. And so a lot of the product development I do requires, you know, making sure that the safety issues are there. The kitchens have to be all approved. Processing is different. But, you know, even just basic caterers during COVID, 2 of my major caterers who are fine dining caterers, they had nothing to do. They couldn't do parties, but they had kitchens, they had equipment. I had the USDA come in and certify their kitchens so that they can actually make product. And they wound up manufacturing a whole line of product that's now in supermarkets and grocery stores. And that was something that happened during COVID. So there's a big market for it.
Okay.
Do you think sometimes people that are in hospitality lose the sight that they're also potentially in the food production business as well?
I guess so.
Okay.
I guess that could happen. But they are in the food production
Right.
business. I mean, it's a process. And for example, if I work with a company, let's say with an Olive Garden type of company, or Red Lobster years ago, um, one of the first things I did was process mapping. I want to understand from the time that a product gets to the back of the store till it gets on someone's plate, what happens to that? Now, I'll give you a real life example of what happened years ago. I was retained by a company called Diageo, which was a company that owned Burger King at the time.
Right.
And Burger King was losing a lot of their franchisees because they weren't making money, and people were complaining about the product being not so great. So they brought me in to say, what can we do here? And said the first thing I have to understand is, what is the process? Where does the product come from? And I literally process map from the time that that burger was delivered to the back door and received from the staff until it hit the plate. 13 things happened to that one piece of meat.
Wow.
13 things. Can you imagine 13 things?
Oof.
Yeah,
So
it's
it was crazy. It was crazy. So I had to really work with formulators. And fortunately, Pillsbury was also part of that group. So I went to their product research and we talked about the buns. We talked about the American cheese. We talked about why we're using microwaves. Why is the burger being made and then soaked in some beef broth? It was just the craziest thing. So I shortened the process into four different things that happen, and the product became better, and they saved on labor, they saved on equipment. And so I started to take apart all of these things. But food production can happen in a huge commissary somewhere, or it could happen in the back end of a bodega. But it really needs to be thought about. What is the best quality and what is the best way to get it so that the guest gets the best experience safely, consistently, and on time. And that's
Another example where AI could certainly come in and be helpful in terms of helping you read and build a plan to do that.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That is exactly right. So I also think that brands can't just be me too. I mean, if you think about just the burger category alone, I mean, you can think of everything from a McDonald's and years ago, the Wetsons, if you remember, Fred,
Yeah.
and then there's the Shake Shacks and the Five Guys burgers and the Five Napkin burgers. And then there's, the gourmet burgers that you have like at a Daniel Balloon's burger. And they're all in the burger business. But what makes a customer, a guest, choose one over the other? Is it convenience? Is it price? Is it the experience? Is it the drive-through? So you say, oh, you have a client that's in the burger business, but all of these other factors have to be considered. And how is that one burger chain company going to differentiate itself in terms of its market position and its messaging and its halo effect? Are you using grass-fed? Are you using homemade buns? I mean, look at In-N-Out Burger. I mean, that's a cult following in
Mhm.
California, in the West Coast. So not all burgers are the same. And I look at every single client situation, regardless of what the product line or the market position, they say, how do we make it the best in class? And one of the challenges that I have been facing, regardless of whether it's fine dining or fast food, is that ownership, leadership, management has taken their eyes off of what I call the polish, and things have
What
got
it, what is that? What is that polish?
the polish is not remembering the basics, a wobbly table, a gritty sign, a uniform or the guest approach, using bad terminology like, are you done with that? Are you still working on that? Not realizing the sight lines when a guest is online queuing, like in a Chipotle or a fast casual model. What do they see? What's on their eye level? What is the lighting? What are the acoustics? It's the sensuality, it's the polish. And I don't care if you're serving a hot dog, but that bun better be perfectly fresh, and that relish has to be terrific. And the crazy thing is, like a company like Gray's Papaya, which is, a iconic New York hot dog place, and people go there, they expect a certain experience. And you'd say, well, they're not so polished. Their napkin holders are from the old school, but that's part of the experience. Like when you go to Katz's Deli, it's part of the experience that the picture frames are going to be off, and the servers are going to have that
Sure.
attitude. But that's natural and it's authentic. But what are the things that take away from delivering the experience? What are the obstacles? What are your bathrooms like when people walk out of the bathroom? What are they seeing? Are they seeing you have piled up, high chairs and extra chairs? And think about everything that takes away from what you went into business for, why you want your places special. And so I really have engaged a new business outlet now because of that, which is kind of that mystery shopper group that goes in. And I have chefs, I have designers, I have food critics going in, all incognito, with I would say about 25 different points that I want them to pay attention to. And then I evaluate that and bring it back to the client as a way of saying, do you see what I see? Do you see what your guests see? Do you sit in every single seat in your restaurant and look up and look down and look sideways? What is the aroma? When people walk in for lunch at 12 o'clock, are they smelling cleaning detergent that you mop your floor with? Or are they smelling garlic or whatever you want them to be smelling? And so leadership has lost their way in terms of paying attention to the details, and that's the polish. And there's actually a new category of restaurant classification now, and it's called polished casual. And I would say
Really?
that, yes, it's actually, I just did my first assessment using that model, and what qualifies you to fit and comply in that category. And I think the word polish is what I'm very focused on this year.
So what is polished casual? What's an example of it and what does it look like?
Well, I would say that a polished casual is a Hellstone. That to me is a perfect example
Okay.
because it's casual. You don't have to be dressed fancy, although they do have a dress code. But the servers, the hosts, their hair is back, their posture is clean. They know how to mark a table, manicure a table. They know how to serve and hold a glass so that they're not touching the top of the rim. Everything is polished, and that
Hmm.
polish makes a difference in the price you could charge. Also, the dishes, the serving dishes. I just went through an exercise with an existing client where his tabletop ware was really just, basic and pretty shabby, and his food didn't look so great on it. As a matter of fact, it didn't enhance the beautiful food that he had. And so I brought in a model, actually working with Singer equipment, and I had them bring in a whole array of different dishes that were, obviously sturdy, and took the same exact food, the same recipe, the same product, the same uh, ounces, the same weight, and put it on different plates to show the client, look how your existing food could look on these different plates. And he was completely blown away. And I
Wow.
said, you
Wow.
realize you could get an extra $2 for every dish just by changing the plate. Look how this looks. whether it was the souffle cup that they were using was one of those old tin or melamine, instead of using something that was, more ceramic and richer.
Hmm.
Polish. The napkins, instead of using the cheap polyester napkin, I would rather them use a better heavyweight disposable napkin. But we brought in new napkins, new tabletop, some lighting, a little different signage, reorganized the menu, and now he's a polished restaurant. And he did not change one recipe, not one cost of goods.
Oh, okay.
That's
Okay.
polish.
Nobody could hear me. uh, Fred,
I can hear you, Larry.
oh, you can hear me.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Because I can't see me. So my camera
Okay.
disappeared.
We're good.
So we're at that time. But before we go, I want to talk a little bit about the charitable side of Arlene. Uh, Arlene, you are a friend of the virtual breakfast sessions. Uh, Please tell us about the Katchke Farm.
Well, Katchke Farm is a farm that Liz Newmark from Great Performances bought and has kept up with for years and years. And Katchke is the nickname that she used to call her daughter, who she unfortunately lost through an illness. And that also sparked the Sylvia Center, which is a nonprofit that helps city kids who may not realize that oranges grow on trees and not come in a container learn about how things are grown and planted. And so Kotchke Farms, which is in Kinderhook. But one of the fun things that you may not know about Kotchke Farms, again, which is a nonprofit, uh, is that Liz also is the operating manager of Dizzy's Jazz Club, and I've worked with her, and this is in Lincoln Center, and I've worked with her on that project. And Liz would bring in all of the herbs from Kotchke Farm to the bar at Lincoln Center's Jazz Club, and we would use that to make the cocktails. So I mean, it just couldn't be a better match. Where Liz is has this wonderful farm, and all of us are volunteers with the Sylvia Center, and then she uses the fruits, the literal fruits and herbs and things that she grows on the farm in her restaurants that she's managing. So, I mean, it's just a full circle love fest there.
And what is your relationship with the Sylvia Center?
I am a member of the Culinary Council, and I work with helping them program, and I try to help the kids that go through the program find careers through relationships that I have with my clients, learn about the opportunities, learn about how they can even get development money to go to culinary school, have internships during the summer to learn their knife skills, and just to be inspired. And whatever they ask me to do, I just do. I show up.
That is you know what? More and more these days, people um, know the value of those that show up. And I think you have shown up for us today. It
Thank
was
you.
a wonderful experience, even though my computer decided to go crazy. But thank you for being here. Before we go into that last bit of information you want people to know, let me thank the people who paid our bills. Ed Flanagan in the Error Group. Listen, if you get those orders in, 15, 20 boxes come into your kitchen, and you count the boxes, you look at the receipt, the box of numbers, and the receipt match, you stick it on the pin, you sign the piece of paper. uh, how many things can go wrong with that? You know, Ed Flanagan and the Error Group, they will make sure that you're getting what you asked for, you're paying what you agreed to pay, and if you're not, they will help you claw back that money. So if you're a little shaky on keeping the accounting right, call Ed Flanagan and the Error Group. back to our show. So, Arlene, leave that one bit of wisdom for people. When they're looking at their business, what's the one thing they can do right now that'll help right the ship?
Give people the tools they need to be successful for themselves and for your business. Don't assume that people are just going to know what to do. People come to all kinds of workplaces challenged, and good leadership knows how to support them and provide for them and encourage them and appreciate them and compensate them. So show up, pay attention, and give people the best chance to be successful for themselves and for your business.
Thank you. Thank you. Fred, leave that little bit of information.
Appreciate. I can't thank Arlene enough for taking the time. Always fun to learn from her. Now, polished casual is another lexicon for all of us to look at. There isn't anybody more insightful than Arlene. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Have a great day, gentlemen. Thank you for
Arlene,
inviting me.
Arlene, thank you for coming here. Thank you for enriching us. And I only have two things left to say. Everyone, stay positive, test negative, and we'll see you next week. Bye now.
Bye-bye.